All right, guys, how you doing? It's Rabea.
Dave.
We are here in my studio today to talk about something quite nerdy, I would say. It's definitely in the realms of nerd.
Yes, or in other words, it's kind of just up my street.
Oh, for sure.
I think.
And that's why Dave's here, because I have no idea what I'm doing. It's not a complete lie. But yeah, basically, you may have heard of a brand called Sonarworks. And their name gets brought up a lot in the mixing room realms, pro audio and audiophile realms.
Yeah, and even, I think, mastering as well.
Right, okay. Yeah. Basically, Sonarworks specialise in tuning rooms that aren't ideally built for mixing in and engineering and stuff like that. Because, like me and Dave, we have studios in our houses where this room is not designed acoustically for mixing music in. So people like Sonarworks came along with software and hardware that basically do the difficult part of tuning the room for you. That's a very basic explanation of what happens.
I mean, I think I'd describe it as calibrating your studio monitors for your specific room. So obviously every speaker driver is going to have its own frequency response and react certain ways, and how you hear that in your room is going to change depending on the room tones and acoustics of your particular room. So the idea is that we try and overlay effectively an EQ over each speaker, so that we end up with your speakers kind of sounding how the person that designed the speakers intended them to sound. So rather than treating the room, we're treating the speaker. So it's a different way of approaching acoustics. But it's scientific, it's nerdy, and it's fun.
You might have seen a video called How to Acoustically Treat a Room that Dave and I did, where I pulled down part of my ceiling.
Yep, it was special.
Yeah, it was. And that's basically what you're just saying. We were tuning the room there to try and get the EQ curve of the room as flat as possible.
Yep.
But you've just rightly pointed out that this is doing that to the speakers and not the room.
Yes.
So we're hopefully combining the two, because moving into this new studio, I don't know if you can see, but there are panels of the same acoustic treatment that we used at the old place. I did a similar process and did it in this room, but now we're going to do it with Sonarworks with my new Neumann KH310A monitors. So Sonarworks, not only do you get the software that takes you through every step of doing that, you also need the correct hardware. So they very kindly sent this beautiful little microphone. And whilst I'm doing a close-up of it, Dave will tell you exactly what it does.
So the way that this software is going to work is by overlaying an EQ over the speakers. For it to know what EQ it needs to apply, it needs to be able to take a load of almost impulse responses, really, of the speakers. And so it's going to do that by using this omnidirectional microphone, and it'll ask us to place it in different places and make a load of weird sweeps and noises and beeps. And that's what this microphone's doing. Now, the reason that you can just use any kind of omnidirectional microphone, but Sonarworks actually specifically give you their microphone, and they've actually tested this before it's been sent out with the product, and it has a little code on there, and that means that they know exactly what the frequency response of that microphone is, so they can ignore those characteristics as they're coming in, so they can apply their own microphone bias. So it's about as accurate as you can possibly get, and that's why it's important to use their microphone in the process.
There you go. So that's what this microphone is. Apparently also really good for room and acoustic, according to Dave. So yeah, it's not a single-use piece of kit.
No.
So yeah, basically in this video, I'm gonna film Dave do the calibration to the monitors in this room. I've already done one to test it out, and I was pretty chuffed with the results, but I'm not 100% sure that I've done it 100% correct. Dave would be. So that's what this video is about.
Well, I mean, to be completely clear, I've been in studios that use Sonarworks before. I don't have Sonarworks. It's something that I may well get, particularly if I'm impressed after this video. But I haven't ever gone through the calibration process, so you're going to be going through this as I'm learning as well, I think.
But at least you understand it.
But I get the principle, and I'm fairly confident that they've made it fairly idiot-proof. Yeah. So we should be fairly safe.
All right. So without further ado, let's calibrate some monitors.
So the first thing I think we should do is measure our distance between the speakers and the distance from the speakers to our listening position to make sure that we've got an equilateral triangle, or at least as close as possible. That's always good practice before we do anything to do with getting our, well, whether you're treating the room or the speakers, that's the first thing to do. So we'll do that first. These are three-way speakers, so we'll go for our centre spot and measure between the distance between there and the listening spot, and make sure that's the same as the distance between there and the same spot on the opposing speaker. So let's do that first, and I will sketchily do this without hopefully throwing a tape measure into a speaker driver. So that would make our listening position pretty far back.
Yeah.
But obviously
quite far.
It is quite far, but we're at the kind of the mercy really of what you can do in your room. Obviously your speaker shelves or speakers couldn't sit closer on top of this platform, and the only way we could do that is by lifting them up, and then they're going to be too high. So the lesser of the two evils is how you've got it really, which is having the speakers at the correct height and just being a little bit too close. But we'll see when we get into the software whether it has any compensation for your listening spot not being perfectly equal. I have no idea at this stage, but maybe it does, and we'll get into that. So I think we know it's 162 apart. Let's open it up and see what it's going to ask us to do. At this point I have no idea yet, so let's just open it and see. Okay, so measure your speakers. Let's do that. Please prepare your audio setup for the measurement process. We're using the Apollo XP and our channel is coming in here. We do have some plugins, but they're all bypassed. Phantom power is on, so that's fine, and even though the signal's been routed to the output, it's muted, so we shouldn't get the microphone creating any feedback, so we're good there. Yeah, so this is the section where the microphone itself has an ID on it, and this is the calibration profile for this specific microphone. So we're going to put that number in, which you already have done, so that's fine. And that will mean that when it's doing its references, it'll also be attenuating itself for any imperfections or quirks or frequency response of this exact microphone. So that's cool. There you go, there's the individual calibration for this exact microphone. Really cool that they do that.
Please adjust the volume of your output device. My voice should sound at normal conversation volume.
Which?
Left speaker.
Is that how loud we normally talk?
Right speaker.
Is that a conversational volume, Dave?
Yeah, I think that's maybe one more. Let's do it again.
Please adjust the volume of your output device.
I'd say
my
that's...
voice should sound at normal conversation volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left speaker. Right speaker.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so what it's going to ask us to do here is hold the microphone up and basically get the gain level for the microphone set where they need it. So it'll play some sounds, I'll adjust the input, and we'll get that set up so that the gain is correct. Okay, cool. So I've kind of already ballparked this, guessing that they might want it around -12, but it will tell us, I guess. So we'll start measuring and adjust that gain. Nailed it.
They've
Cool.
really made it easy, like,
Yeah.
for people.
Hopefully. So for anyone wanting to just know, I set the gain so that it was peaking at about -12 decibels. That seems to be exactly where they want it, so that's good. Position the microphone 1 to 2 centimeters away from the mid-range driver. So in our case, I guess that's probably going to be this one, even though normally it would be our woofer. These are three-way, so that's kind of your mid-bass coupler, I guess. So let's go with, well, to be fair, I'll go slightly off-centre so that we're kind of close to here as well. Okay, so I don't know which speaker it wants first, but I guess it will tell us. Also, for Americans, there's imperial and metric, so, you know, whatever way you like to measure things. I'm going to keep it in centimetres because it makes sense to me. Okay, so we're going to start with the left monitor, and we need to be 1 to 2 centimetres away, and we want to make sure that I'm on the other side of the speaker, so not in between them. So I'm going to take the mouse and go over this way, and let's be accurate. So
Stay where you are. Measurements in progress. Left speaker done. Right speaker done.
Okay, so it is guessed that it is 175 centimetres difference, and I measured it at 162. So it's got pretty close from guessing, but we can also fine tune this distance and tell exactly how far they are. So I'm going to turn that down to 162. Okay, locate your listening spot. So now it knows the distance between the speakers. This is where we're going to tell it how far away you're actually going to be sat in the listening spot, which we know is going to be less than the distance between the two speakers.
This is a microphone version of me.
It is. So we're going to go dead centre there. Yeah, I'm going to say that's 132.
Okay.
Oh, that is so close.
What did it measure at?
135.
Oh.
And I said, what, 132?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just drop that down to 132. We've got our centre point here, and now it's probably going to ask us to move kind of horizontally to take into account, size of head and moving around and not being bang in the centre every single time. So let's move on.
So it lets you know
Okay.
when you're in the right place.
So when it's making that noise, it's wanting you to move to the next position, and then I guess when it's happy that we're in the right place, it'll play this sound.
Wow. How was that?
Well, it takes quite a bit of time.
Takes
It's kind of cool though how it moves around and stuff. But yeah, that's cool. Let's see what happens if we click show results.
Ooh.
Wow.
More mids.
Got a big dip around sort of 100, 120 or something hertz. Followed by a boost. So profile name your speaker profile.
Call it Dave.
Dave speakers.
Dave speakers.
Save and finish.
So that's it. That's the whole process of profiling speakers.
Yes. So the next stage will be applying a another EQ to compensate for the speakers. So where that dip is at sort of 100, 120 hertz, there'll be a boost to compensate for that dip. And any boosts or whatever, it'll pull some of that down, and with the aim to try and flatten out the response so that it's nice and flat and all the frequencies are reacting the same in this room with these speakers. So there we go.
There you go. You've done the measurements.
I have.
So
it's pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
Obviously my guidance probably wasn't that great because I was working it out and reading whilst we were shooting the video, but it is fairly simple to follow on. It's pretty user-friendly. I think anyone can do it. The descriptions and what it asks you to do, and the way that it follows your hand when you're moving the microphone and stuff is all really useful and easy to follow. It definitely makes the speaker sound very different.
yeah.
Having listened to how they were before, there was a kind of dip in the low end, and it was very sort of low mid focused, a little bit muffled, and with the preset that they apply afterwards, the speakers definitely seem to open up a lot more, breathe a lot more. I can't tell if it feels slightly scooped or if that's just by comparison to how mid-focused the speakers were to start off with. But it definitely works.
Yeah, there was. I think Dave, being a bit more thorough with it compared to when I first tried, there was definitely difference in the mids between the profile I'd done originally and what you've just done.
Yeah.
But I was just saying to Dave, it's really cool how it's designed in such a way that somebody like, me, or somebody that I suppose I do have an understanding more so than the average Joe. Someone like that could use this software and get the great results if they follow the instructions. But also, it's thorough enough that someone that really knows what they're talking about feels comfortable in the fact it's doing a good job.
Yeah. I mean, I've attempted to do this kind of calibration before. Logic has its match EQ, Waves do a good match EQ as well. And I've tried using omnidirectional mics and putting my own sweeps from using impulse response utility to effectively do the same thing, but it's much more long-winded and it's nowhere near as accurate. Like, there's no way of being able to input how far away you are from the speaker or tell it how far away the speakers are from each other, and it measured those distances pretty accurately, but then being able to actually input yourself exactly what those measurements are, and then taking into consideration the EQ response, the frequency response of the microphone itself, it gets you a much more accurate image at the end than trying to do it a DIY way.
So it's 213 quid for Sonarworks. The reference for is this, and the microphone. So the software and the hardware is about just over 200 quid.
Right. I mean, I'd be interested to see how much the Waves Match EQ plugin costs. Plugins cost that kind of money without microphones.
Yeah.
So I think for the money, it's an incredibly useful tool. It's something that it's effectively a plugin that you're going to use on every mix,
and it applies itself. It applies itself as soon as you turn your computer on. It's like reference has been applied.
Yeah.
So you're always mixing.
You can always bypass it.
Yeah.
If you're not sure.
Well, there you go. Sonarworks, thank you so much for sending this software and hardware across, and thank you, Dave, for popping down and doing it thoroughly.
No worries.
If you want to find out anything else about Sonarworks, I'll put links in the description box below. You can check it out for yourself. And if you do get it, let me know what you think. But as far as I'm concerned, it's really, really well designed. And thank you. So, I've been Rabea.
Dave.
We'll see you later.